Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll explore what the Fracking Virus from Cargo is. In the vast and ever-shifting landscape of modern science fiction and horror cinema, few elements leave as deep a mark on the imagination as the virus at the heart of Cargo. This infectious agent doesn't just turn its victims into wandering creatures. It imprints itself like a permanent scar on the minds of those brave enough to dive into the story. Cargo is a work that blends intimate drama with the raw brutality of an apocalyptic scenario, all beneath the relentless sun of the Australian outback. This pathogen, known among fans as the fracken, spreads with a ferocity that not only decomposes human flesh, but also wipes out any glimmer of hope. It's not a typical virus. Its progression is grotesque and merciless, and its origin, hidden in some remote corner of the Australian wilderness, adds a layer of mystery and dread that makes it even more disturbing. The tale of its emergence is as blurry and fragmented as the signals the characters encounter, leaving room for multiple theories and speculations that viewers can't help but explore. What truly makes the fracken a terrifying threat is its speed. Once infected, the host has only 48 hours before losing complete control over body and mind. There is no redemption, no cure. Only the inevitable fate remains. Transformation into a wild creature, something that walks and breathes, yet has been entirely emptied of all humanity. Though they may visually resemble classic zombies, Cargo presents something different. These beings show unique anomalies. Their behavior suggests that even after clinical death, the virus can reactivate tissues, reconnect nerves, and spark flashes of activity in a body that, by all logic, should no longer be moving. One of the most striking and hard to forget images is the thick, yellowish secretion oozing from the eyes and mouths of the infected. This repulsive, viscous substance becomes a visual signature of the virus, soaking the film in a constant atmosphere of nightmare and decay. More than a mere aesthetic detail, this fluid seems to symbolize absolute corruption, a tangible sign of the disease devouring everything from the inside out. This video will delve into the very heart of that nightmare. Step by step, we'll explore how the Fracking virus works, from the first symptoms to full transformation. We'll analyze its physiological impact, the human body's response to the invasion, and theorize about its possible origin, based on hidden clues and visual details that the filmmakers carefully scattered throughout the movie. Cargo unfolds through the story of Andy, a desperate father willing to do the impossible to save his daughter in a world where civilization has collapsed. The vast Australian desert is not just a backdrop, it is another character. Indifferent, brutal, and a silent witness to humanity's struggle for survival. Within this immensity, Andy and his family find temporary shelters, fleeting oases of hope amid the chaos. But everything is ephemeral. The virus never rests, and is always lurking, a constant shadow corroding existence. And this is where Cargo shines with its own identity. The zombies it presents don't follow the traditional pattern. These are not walking corpses in the classic sense, but broken humans trapped in an intermediate state between life and death. Their faces harden beneath a yellowish crust, as if the infection is fossilizing them alive. This substance, resembling resin or dried mud, coats their limbs and gives them an almost petrified appearance. Yet they move, crawl, and hunt for human flesh. They do so with disconcerting clumsiness, yet with a direction that feels almost ritualistic. A particularly strange behavior is their attraction to dark corners. Many have been seen burying their heads in the ground, as if something beneath the surface is calling to them, or in response to a biological need beyond human understanding. This enigmatic behavior might be a crucial clue about how the virus interacts with its environment. Is light a catalyst or a barrier? Does heat weaken or strengthen it? is it's seeking specific conditions to evolve and spread, though its design and themes may evoke iconic films like 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, and even the highly anticipated 28 Years Later. The infected in Cargo retain a personality of their own. Like in those films, these are not reanimated corpses, but living people consumed by a biological agent that rewires their most primal and savage instincts. A pivotal moment comes when Andy must face his wife's infection. After discovering an emergency pamphlet, he learns that the virus progresses through clearly defined stages. She is given a bracelet with a visual timer, 48 hours, no more, no less. During that time, the early symptoms include intense muscle pain and growing mental confusion. Although the document doesn't detail every initial sign, it implies there are far more than what is visible at first glance. As the virus advances, the body gives in uncontrollable fever, extreme nausea, vomiting, and convulsive spasms that shake the entire nervous system. Here, a crucial detail emerges. The person does not become contagious until reaching a specific threshold of symptoms, suggesting that the virus requires a certain infection level to transmit effectively. It's at that point that the body begins secreting dangerous fluids, and contact with them, especially through open wounds, becomes a lethal risk. The point of no return arrives precisely when the countdown ends. When the 48 hours are up, nothing remains of the person inside. The host becomes an organic hunting machine, unresponsive to faces or words. Its only function is to spread the infection, perpetuating the cycle. Throughout this process, we witness the gradual deterioration of Andy's wife's body. Her wound oozes that characteristic yellow slime. Her body shakes with increasingly violent spasms. She bleeds, coughs, and chokes, a painful display of human fragility collapsing from within, while resistance to the final transformation proves futile. Later on, another chilling scene underscores the virus's brutality. Andy suffers an accident, and his wife, Kate, dies after being impaled by an object. Yet moments later, she comes back, not as the woman she once was, but as a macabre distortion of herself. This suggests the virus doesn't merely alter life. It manipulates death, reactivating basic functions in clinically dead bodies. A form of unnatural resurrection where only the most savage and primitive instincts survive. In Cargo, what truly chills the blood isn't just the unstoppable spread of the infection, but the way the infected begin to behave, as if guided by some ancestral, visceral radar, a primitive instinct that drives them without any clear reason. One of their most disturbing behaviors is their almost animalistic attraction to the scent of fresh blood and rotting flesh. This trait is brutally exposed in one of the film's most tense scenes. Andy and Thumi are locked inside a cage, used as human bait to lure the creatures, who approach the smell with the same precision and ferocity as a shark detecting a drop of blood in the water. The tension is palpable, and the imminent danger is felt in every second. In another equally desperate and revealing moment, Thumi places a piece of meat in front of the already infected Andy. His immediate reaction leaves no doubt. The virus has taken full control. There are no signs of will or consciousness, only a brutal and voracious instinct that dominates every action. It's a raw moment that exposes the complete loss of humanity the infection brings. As the story progresses, we witness Andy's slow but inevitable unraveling, not at the hands of zombies per se, but because of the virus living inside him. The transformation doesn't happen all at once. It's a progression marked by increasingly disturbing and unsettling signs. It begins with erratic, almost mechanical behaviors that seem like desperate attempts to cling to fragments of his humanity. In one particularly significant scene, we see him leaning against a wall, rubbing his face in repetitive motions, as if part of him is trying to maintain human routines while another part is dragging him toward absolute madness. Then come the muscle spasms, the total loss of control over his body. An uncontrollable urge to devour raw flesh emerges. But it's not hunger, it's a biological programming imposed by the virus. The fracken is rewriting Andy's biology, line by line, breaking down his humanity to make way for the creature he's destined to become. One of the most striking changes is the gradual loss of vision. Andy begins to see everything as blurry, as if through a dark veil. From his eyes oozes a thick yellow secretion that slowly drips down his face, covering it as though his body is trying to protect itself from the light, burying his senses in self-imposed darkness. Despite going blind, he continues to move forward, because it is no longer sight that drives him, but a primal instinct, an internal force pushing him without awareness or will. In a brutal and symbolically charged moment, Andy begins to dig desperately with his own hands. But he's not doing it to escape or save himself. He's trying to bury his head in the ground. This gesture, which had already been observed in other infected, confirms what until then was only a suspicion. The virus has taken full control. The mind and body have been overridden, and what remains is a shell obedient to a biological pattern no one fully understands. Yet in the midst of so much despair, there is a moment that changes everything. Thumi, in a last attempt to connect with what's left of Andy, sprays perfume into the air, the same scent his wife used to wear. Andy inhales. He pauses. Behind those clouded eyes, there is a faint glimmer. There are no words, no clear memories, but there is an emotional echo, a shadow of the man he used to be. Though it's not a certainty, that simple act opens a window to the possibility that fragments of humanity might survive, even in the midst of the most brutal infection. As for a cure, the film is brutally clear. There is none. When Thumi mentions that a shaman cured her father, Andy reveals a much darker truth. The most advanced scientists in the world tried and failed. Governments made efforts and failed too. The only answer left was containment, not a cure. To control the disaster, but not to reverse it. This is why specific emergency kits for the infected were created, a tacit institutional recognition that the battle was lost. Meanwhile, indigenous communities, like Thumi's, came to the same conclusion on their own. The virus was a death sentence. Toward the end, we see how these communities make drastic decisions. There are no longer rituals or hopes, only the elimination of carriers before everything is lost forever. The film doesn't offer a definitive explanation about the origin of the pathogen, but it leaves enough clues for attentive viewers to follow the trail. Andy, Thumi's father, and Vic all worked for a company involved in oil extraction in remote areas of Australia. The method used, fracking or hydraulic fracturing. This is a real and highly controversial technique that involves breaking underground rock using high-pressure fluid to release fossil fuels. In real life, fracking is known to contaminate groundwater, release toxic gases, and disrupt entire ecosystems. But in cargo, the damage goes even further. It's suggested that fracking unleashed something that had been sealed beneath the surface since ancient times. A prehistoric virus, dormant, deadly, and now free to unleash its terror upon humanity.